Let me just see. Okay. Okay, excellent. Okay. Welcome. I'm Lita Mae Button, and this is the podcast Dildo Dilemma: Humor in the Face of Trauma. I'm a motivational speaker, boxing coach, and soon to be published author. And if you have not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you smash and subscribe to the channel. Imagine being paralyzed by fear because each step you've taken forwards up to this point was blocked with obstacles that live inside: doubt, insecurities, and feelings of abandonment. That was me from the age of 16 to 22. Then, bam, life sucker punched me. I became a single parent to my son with a lifelong and at times life-threatening blood disorder called hemophilia B. I knew that I needed to deal with these obstacles to be strong and help him grow into a productive and well-adjusted adult. And I began boxing competitively to do this. And through one punch, one competition, and overcoming one fear at a time, I did it. I learned how to punch back at life, absorbing the shock of life's blows and channeling those blows into empowering myself and tackling those fears in the ring. And that empowerment rippled out into my everyday life, giving me the confidence to live life on my own terms and be the number one role model for my son and protect us if the need should rise. As a motivational speaker and coach now, I help women increase their energy while decreasing their emotional and physical pain so that they can have the confidence and trust in themselves again through boxing. Because I know the end result when you're empowered on every level as a woman, and when she takes back and steps into her power from the inside out, this has a rippling effect into everything that the world needs to heal. And this world needs this more than ever, especially when it comes to ending violence against women. So if you're joining and watching this today, please, again, subscribe and smash that YouTube subscribe button. And we're here today with the Dildo Dilemma: Humor in the Face of Trauma podcast, which is about bringing awareness, advocacy, and action taking to help eliminate violence against women in Newfoundland and worldwide. So in case you were wondering why Newfoundland, well, there's two reasons. It's my home and it's my family's home. And I just found out recently in the last few months that the violence against women statistic is higher here in Newfoundland than the rest of Canada, especially in rural Newfoundland. 1 in 2 women over the age of 15 will experience a form of stalking or violence in their lifetime. And I want to help make a lasting change for my family now and my grandkids in the future. Because we have to first make changes on what's happening inside of us and closest to us to help create that rippling effect. And then second, Newfoundland is just plain awesome. It's Canada's most eastern province that is an island with over 500,000 people, its own time zone, and the name of towns and streets like Blow Me Down and Dildo. However, in 2019, there was an imposter by the name of Jimmy Kimmel that claimed himself as the honorary mayor of our town of Dildo in Newfoundland. And now there's another imposter who, by the name of Jerry D, who is also not a Newfoundlander, that is trying to run and take the honorary mayor title of Dildo. Dare I say it, it's time to put a woman in charge to advocate for Newfoundland. We call it a dildo dilemma, shall we say? So, when a woman's in charge, she helps make changes by nurturing instead of demanding. Okay, joining me today is my guest, Galerna Askirova. Galerna is a certified transformational health coach who helps women over 40 naturally restore their energy, balance their hormones, and return to the movement they once loved. Through her Meno Mojo program, she guides women to feel strong, confident, and energized without extreme plans or overwhelm. That sounds amazing. Thank you so much for joining me here today, Galerna. Can you please let our listeners know a little bit more about your background and why you said yes to coming onto this podcast today?
Thank you, Lida. First of all, it was so interesting to hear about the town where you're from and about your experience, how you punch back the life, right? And get stronger. And, I do truly believe that when we're physically strong, we can accomplish anything difficult, emotional and or mental difficulty. Actually, I am Gulnara. I am health coach, and I helping women just like Lita just said. I helping women to be active again. There is so many women, so many of us used to was active about Zumba, dancing, hiking, doing cool stuff. But life changed. Changing. Our body started changing, and we feels like we don't have enough energy for anything. And I love to support women in this journey, our journey not to feel like oh nothing works anymore, or journey like I'm broken. No, but opposite. There is. You can be again strong, you can be again energetic, you can be again active. And I am one of them. I am 57. I'm super active. And I love to connect to women, the active women, the athletes women. And I believe, Lita, this is one of the reason why we connected, because I love to see strong women, not just like physically the strong woman on any aspect, and every aspect of life. And another thing is when we had the conversation, I said yes to this podcast because you were talking about violence against the woman, and I have examples, and I live in a society that woman wasn't valued as even as here in Western culture, but I was lucky and I am grateful. Never had the violence against me, but I grew up be cautious of that. We had tools to do that, avoid violence against from men. Men could hurt you, especially men who don't know you. And we had the tools as we how we behaved, how we talked, how we walk in the street. So that's the reason why. Second reason that beside that I love what you do and who you are, and the second reason what you do and bring this conversation, violence against a woman. Yeah.
So, can you let our listeners and viewers know what your cultural background is?
Well, I am born and raised in Azerbaijan, which is in that it's a Muslim country, but it's not under fundamental Islamic culture, because we were under the Soviet Union, and that I think that was good side of that. But culturally, you can change culture that in terms like women doesn't have a right to speak up.
Hmm.
Women born just to get married and have a children. They even didn't care for women to go school, even though we all went school, we all went um, colleges and university, but nobody cared about that. They said that your job to actually raise a family and be mother and be wife and take care of men. This I was always internally resisted to that understanding. And plus, beside that, we still was lived in a modern life,
Hmm.
but arranged marriage was very, very strong in my culture. Like, you shouldn't date with a man before you're married. Like we have a culturally like you someone has to come and ask your parents, basically arranged marriage. You probably know what that is.
Yeah,
And only
familiar.
then, Yeah, only then you could date to your future husband. So otherwise, like you, so it was different. You know, it depends, of course, families. Some families had a more modern view and didn't follow the rules, but majority, they are like, I always felt like I don't fit here. Like
Right,
I couldn't, like I didn't have my rights to even choose. Uh, person I wanna that are relationships, like even like between men and women, and that was the toughest part. I always felt like this is nonsense. We lived in a modern life, a modern culture, and how can this hold beliefs are so deep in the culture. It
yeah,
was staying. And there's a lot of women's lives have been broken, but because that because there is men and women falling in love, but men was going for the another woman because his mother chose to that and left other women behind. Women always was open to the fall in love, have a relationship before say yes to something, and men always follow the cultural rules or something. So it was tough, and I never was agree with that, never understood that. Maybe the
right.
fact that I married the American man and end up here, that's why I end up in this country because I just couldn't deal with that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing a little bit of that of your background and do you go back and visit your country at all?
All my family's here. I
Oh,
brought mother here. My sister lives in Sweden.
mhm.
I visited my country a while ago, but um, it definitely changed
Yeah.
a lot. It's more, I don't know, culturally changed, but it still stays some of them still the traditional, it's like a traditions. It's still same, but I believe there is more freedom between the young people. There is allows, but I still think that I still see that women don't have a mini opening, like
Mm.
not allowed to be open and do what she wants because parents never gonna allow her.
It's interesting. Very interesting. So you mentioned that you said you growing up, they gave you tools, you were taught tools to avoid violence. Can you explain and elaborate a little
Oh,
bit more?
yeah, one of them that when you walk in the street, keep your
Mm.
eyes down, and don't smile much. I have people telling me that I have a what do you call resting beach face. I said, yep. I said, of course I do because I've been trained. Like, so no man could say any bad word to me, you know. Yeah, that's what how I grew up. I would have to look down in the street when oh my God, that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. I had a personal experience happen a number of years ago now, about 10 years ago, with a friend that was a client at one point in time as well. And I was just being friendly because I'm a friendly person. And I just smiled and said hello to some random strange guy. And my client and friend at the time, he's like, don't do that. And I'm like, you need to don't do that. And he's like, you don't understand how guys interpret that. He's like, if this is some strange guy, and it's really interesting that you are sharing that it's like if you were just being, I would say, normal social interaction, it can be viewed
Interrupted
as
differently.
yes, yes, just because you're
But yeah.
just because you're a female.
Yeah, because if you do this, if you smile, that's what our understanding. I don't know how it was actually true from my side. This is what the true. Like if you smile and someone started talking to you, that's mean he in the future he can hurt you because he's gonna say, oh, she's light and easy. She started conversation with me easy, so I can do whatever, right? She's anyway. It's probably not. I wouldn't say it's 100% of it, but I just want to say my experience of living. Like my mother, we had the two girls, and we lost our father when we were young, and my mother always has to remind us, remember, you don't have a male figure in our family. And
Yeah.
anyone can hurt us. That's why you have to behave differently that no one ever gonna think something bad about you, like that's she's easy. We can go and starting dating with her, starting sleeping with her, and then we
All
there's
all
someone else. Yeah.
based on just a friendly look or gesture.
We believe that. We believe, but it's maybe not necessarily true, but that's what
Right.
we grew up. I'm gonna say one more things, very cool things. I was working at a fire department as in a dispatcher fire department, and one man said, you never smile, how are you ever gonna get married? There was like, oh, this is different opinion here. I was shocked then. So it might be not necessarily culturally, it's maybe my mother's beliefs. But I've seen a lot of
Your
negative too.
did your friends hold the same kind of opinion and viewpoint? Your friends and their
Not
family?
necessarily, not everyone. It depends. Like we had a multicultural cultural the way we lived is a multicultural. It's not just me from Azerbaijan. There was people from Russia. I mean,
Hmm.
Russian, Ukrainian, Jew, Armenian, Georgian, all kind of different culture. But every culture has their own view. Like
Yeah.
it's never was a deal among Russians, Ukrainians, Belarus. It never was like it was normal to meet someone and date. That was, but if you Muslim, so that's where the culture was. It was such a mixed match. I mean, it's interesting actually how it was um, a mixed match of the cultures in one
Yeah.
place. Yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting. So, did you have to overcome your own barriers of being potentially having a arranged marriage?
No, no, we didn't do. I told my mom, don't even think about that.
Okay.
Well, my mother wasn't that sad, but one time she came to me and said, there's some I want to you meet someone." I said, "Forget about. Don't even ever talk to me about that." Well, I was lucky. Like I said, we was more open and more not so deep in this traditional culture and in my family. That's why I resisted and she never spoke about that. No, it never was in my case.
Well, that's good. That's
I
good.
probably already have grandchildren. It would be my case.
So you mentioned that you did before that you've had a little bit of experience in terms of personally, but have you ever experienced as well professionally in dealing with trauma or violence with women that you've supported?
You mean back then or now? Not
Both.
both. No, actually. Right now, as I live in US for 25 years. To honestly, I think my understanding in men and women relationship, my understanding of that men and women can be equal.
Mhm.
So it was just mind blowing, it's not just like woman, when I married my husband and he was coming from work, it was in my genes, in my blood. Food has to be ready when my husband come home, dinner has to be ready. Man comes home. Then I relaxed all this. I forgot, like, and when I brought my mom, she's saying, we have to prepare that. I said, forget about it, relax, mom. She said, no, men at home coming from work, the food has to be ready. No, I actually totally opposite. I started seeing the he in well, probably both. Let's say that. I personally never worked with the people who been abused or had violence against them. But I know women, a lot of women who've been um, sexually abused, um,
Yeah.
and mind blowing. And I thought, gosh, even here,
Yeah. The statistic is 1 in 5, and many
yes.
report
And
it.
I couldn't believe. I thought like this is true maybe back there, like
Yeah.
in the country. And I couldn't believe this number. And I know personally so many women who live through this trauma. And I always was, it's it's huge number. And I always remembering how grateful I am that I never had I had to experience with that. But I know a woman who did experience that, and unfortunately, a lot of them.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that. So we're going to take a little bit of a dildo history break. So for
Okay.
the town of Dildo, so the one of the theories is that Dildo, Newfoundland is named after what's called on the boats, there's these round wooden circular clasps that hold the oars in place, and they're called dildo. So that's one of the theories, that it was named after, the town was named after that, because it's a huge, at one point in time, fishing location. And part of that history is in the early 1500s. There was a lot of European fishermen that were from Portugal, Spain, France, and England, that would come in and out of Dildo and fish the abundant cod fishery there. And in terms of the actual adult phallic toy, during the medieval period from the 5th to the 15th century, this was a little bit of the history that saw the rise of what was called the witch hunts, where women were suspected of engaging in unnatural practices or magic and were accused of using objects for sexual pleasure. And so some of these witch trial records actually refer to accusations of women using devilish sex toys as part of their supposed magic. So this is a little bit of history of the town and a little bit of the history of where kind of essentially the witch trials kind of came from in the 5th to the 15th century. We've come a long way, but we're still not completely equally 100% there, but we're getting there. We're getting there. So thank you so much, Gulnara, for in terms of sharing some of your cultural experiences and your experiences with women that you've connected with over the years. Is there one thing that you'd like to share with those watching that would help people take action to support or end violence against women?
Well, I know this fact that a lot of women afraid to speak up, because they afraid not to have a support, not to being heard, not to being understood, or actually being blamed. We often unfortunately blaming ourselves when something like this happen, like it's my fault. So I wanna you believe that nothing wrong with you and it's not your fault. And there is support. There is support, and especially right now in our time, you need to believe that you will find support. You need to speak up. You need to start maybe do the research or something in advance in the head. And who can you talk? Is it their phone number specific? Can you go to police? What else can you do? But talk to someone. You can reach out, maybe one of us.
Yeah, 100%.
Just reach out to one of us and say, I need help. I don't know what to do. And if I don't know what to do, I will find out and we're going to help. Do not think that it's your fault. Do not blame yourself and do not spend some extra another minute with the person who abusing you, whether it's verbally, whether it's physically, right? Yeah.
Look, thank you. Absolutely. It is not to help heal and overcome understanding that the person who did the perpetrating, they're the ones that need to feel the shame and guilt. And but there's a lot of healing on both ends that have to occur. But most importantly, understanding that reaching out for support and telling your story and connecting with others who can support you is super, super important to help heal and overcome because the more we stay silent, the more it kind of perpetuates that cycle. So thank you for sharing that. So can you please share with listeners where we can find you and connect with you?
Absolutely. I'm on Facebook. I'm actually have accounts in LinkedIn and Instagram, but I'm mostly on Facebook. You can find me under my first and last name, Gulnara Skerva. And I have a Facebook group for women who going through the menopause, like before and after the perimenopause and postmenopause, and that's called Energized Menopause with Gulnara. And that's where you can find me. Or ask Coach Lita, where can I find Gulnara who helping with menopause?
Absolutely, absolutely. Collaborate and connect is very, very important. We rise by lifting up others. So I'm going to end today's podcast with a little dildo dilemma humor joke because we can't take life so seriously because none of us was getting out of it alive. So,
Yeah, yeah, I'm agreeing.
and if you want to take a stab at what the answer of the joke may be, feel free. So, why did the woman refuse to give her dildo away? Because it was the perfect fit for her.
Oh my God, that's
So thank
hilarious.
you everyone for tuning in today, for tuning in
Thank
today.
you. Thank you.
The next live podcast will be on Friday, June 13th. I'll have a special guest and I will let you guys know when who is coming on June 13th. So thank you again, Galerna, for joining us here today. And everyone, I hope you have an amazing first long weekend of the summer because it's Victoria Day weekend. I don't know what long weekend is it in the United States right now?
You mean no yet? We're gonna have a
Okay.
Memorial weekend on in the last weekend of May.
Oh, okay. So ours is this weekend right now. So we'll call Victoria Day long weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Have an amazing weekend, everyone.